say, Jill? It's the champagne pouring, big joint rolling, Bombay sipping, no blunt smoking, bad bitch getting thick and she got some friends with her. I take them out, pour shots of liquor, drinking out the bottle, smiling in all my pictures. The marijuana loud, so them hoes follow like Twitter. Nigga, you know everything, Taylor. Don't rush to the bar, fool, if you ain't got no paper. That's the rules. High as fuck, sloppy drunk when I'm passing through. Rolling doobies up, your hoe who we pass them to. Hit the club, spend this money up, roll another one, drink, act a fool. That's what I have to do. Champagne all night, never worry about a damn thing. Yeah, mine, homie, I'm on my level. Yeah, 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 take one shot to the brain and all the 3 more shots going in. Hey, I'm on my level. Yeah, I'm on my level. Yeah, I'm on my level. Yeah, I'm on my level. Yeah. Spent a couple dollars on my engine motor roaring when I back out the garage. Gin got me drunk as fuck, stumbling out the bar. Plus I'm struggling trying to find the keys to my car, cause I be going hard. Roll the camera, life is like a movie, I'm the star. Wish you was in my position, you too broke to play the part. Of course, I keep some bad women with me in the back, sipping rosé with some hash twisting. All about $1, my team in the cash getting. Straight out of the bar when we drinking, we smash niggas. So when I say I'm ballin', that don't mean that I'm playing, man. All my diamonds talking, you can see what they saying, man. I've been drinking champagne all night, never worry about a damn thing. Yeah, man, homie, I'm on my level. Yeah, 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 one shot to the brain and all shot going in. Yeah, I'm on my level. 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 Yeah.
In the middle of the night, early in the morning, from the streets to the sheets with some freaks. I ain't yawning, I'm wide awake. We ain't eating, we ain't sleeping. These bitches so high, man, we ain't even speaking. We just freaking. You rolling with short dog, baby. She was high on that pill, so I fucked your lady. Come to my house, I give them everything they want. I might not do it, but I give it to you, woman. Cocaine, mushrooms, ecstasy, GHB, marijuana. She can suck it if she wanna. I got tequila, so rockin' 2 freaky friends, and it's a Wednesday night. This ain't the
I've been drinking
weekend.
champagne all night, never worried about a damn thing. And y'all might, homie, I'm on my level. Yeah, 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 take one shot to the brain and all the 3 more shots going in. Hey, I'm on my level. Yeah, 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 man, I'm high as fuck. Man, I swear I'm on my level. Man, I'm sloppy drunk. Man, I swear I'm on my level. I'm finna pass out. Man, I swear I'm on my nigga get smashed out. My nigga, I swear I'm on my level. Man, I'm high as fuck. Man, I swear I'm on my level. Man, I'm sloppy drunk. Man, I swear I'm on my level. I'm finna pass out. Man, I swear I'm on my hater get smashed out. My nigga, I swear I'm on my level. See, I've been drinking champagne all night, never worried about a damn thing. When y'all might, homie, I'm on my level. Yeah, 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 take one shot to the brain and all the 3 more shots going in. Hey, I'm on my level. Yeah, I'm on my level. Yeah, I'm on my level. Yeah, I'm on my level. Yeah.
I'm just in here starting up my day, having a little ramble. Hold on, I got the background noise, which is killing me. All right, there we go. Now I got myself out of there. So what's up, everybody? I'm just waking up in the morning, afternoon, yawning in my new year, and taking a peek around the YouTube space to see what's going on, what everybody is talking about, and dealing with a couple of my own little. What's up, AB? Yeah, I keep having technical issues right now. So yeah, I'm just looking around the RambleSphere, just thinking about things and putting stuff in perspective for what this year is going to be, and what the new year or what the last year was. If you can hear me now, press 1, Albert. There's always a little bit of a delay, you know how that shit go. Still no? I'm on the stream. I don't know if you can hear me or not. I got 4 of you in here. Press 1 if you can hear me. Press 1 if you can hear me. Okay, you got me. So we good. Gucci crew. So yeah, I'm just thinking about a couple of things. I got some stuff on my mind, and I had a little bit of bullshit happen yesterday and then Monday, but I'm not going into it. It is what the fuck it is. My phone keeps crashing for some reason. Happy New Year, Harry Webster. So this is just my version of a BGS ramble, so to speak. And just airing out some thoughts, because I was going to jump on Ghost of Tsushima and play that a little bit and just work out a little bit of my frustrations cutting down folks with a sword, which would be fun for me. I could probably do the same thing right now on here, but I figured just do it live. Everybody else can do it live. I'll just do it live. I'll just ramble and see who gives a fuck about what I'm saying. So I had a decent conversation with my mother last night. I had about a 5-hour conversation with my mother last night. And the short version of it is that I was supposed to do a walkthrough with her in her new house that she's having built. Okay. She's downsized. She got out of her condo in one city, bought her new house further out. It's being built. It's supposed to be done this month. And I was supposed to do the walkthrough with her so I can point out any things that construction workers missed or were not doing correctly that needed to get punch list out and fixed before she took ownership of the house. And I could not do that because I had my own stuff that I was dealing with that Monday that totally blanked that shit from my mind. So when I realized it last night, when I texted her about some other stuff that was going on, and she responded kind of what I read as her having an attitude with me. I didn't know why until it clicked in my head, like, oh, I was supposed to help moms out with the walkthrough this week. Shit, totally forgot it, totally blew it off, and didn't text her back. So I called her to apologize because I do not believe in this world that I am perfect. And perfect is the one thing that you don't want to be, because if you're perfect and you're here, your ass shouldn't be here. You're supposed to be somewhere else instructing people. So I called her to, apologize for that and just talk to her and see how things went. And we ended up having a long, sprawling conversation about everything. So, a quick 2-minute conversation turned into 5 hours with my mother. And this is interesting in the sense that if you knew how my family dynamic was, is that me and my mother could not talk for months at all. Not talk, not check in on each other or anything. And then at some point during that time, one of us will come back to the other and we'll talk. And we'll talk for like 5-6 hours straight. Just flat out, right? No reasoning, no real conversation, just like catching up on everything that has happened or thoughts we have. And the conversation is sprawling, in a sense. Because in the conversation, you'll get politics, you'll get societal issues, you'll get male-female dynamics, you'll get interpersonal relationships. You can get science and stuff, right? You know, I was, schooling my mother on what was happening on the World Economic Forum about all this alphabet community, LGBT rights, and this next stimulus that's coming and how they want a bigger share of the pie because they think their community has been hit the hardest. And I'm like, have they been fucking black? So we talked about a lot of different things, and inevitably when you're talking to your parents, history comes up, past family history or whatnot. And one of the things that stuck with me out of everything that we talked about last night, one of the things that stuck with me was the fact that she said she loved my father. Yeah, she said she loved my father. Now, mind you, my mother was 15 when she had me. Right? I'm now 47. She's 60 something right now, right? We're only like 15 years apart. This is one of the first times I've heard her say something nice about my father, because they were not together. By the time I was conscious of what the hell was going on around me, they were not together, and they had never been together and weren't ever going to be together again. That was done. I can remember the last conversation I heard them have when I was in elementary school, which got me to not seeing my father on a regular basis. And the threat was that she was taking him to court. Now, it took until I graduated from college and at 40 to even have a picture of my mother and father together at the same time. Never seen one, never had one. Right? And up until that moment last night when we were talking, and we were just talking about parenting and the kids and what I did with my children and how they turned out, I told her about my children knowing where they were conceived and what the situation was around them when they were conceived. Because for me, growing up, I figured that was always a hole. That as a child, you should know why your parents actually like each other. If they were ever together, what the nature of their damn relationship with each other was. I thought that was vitally important to me, because I believe the things that you don't tell kids leaves a hole in them. They have a hole. It's a mystery. They are a puzzle that's missing pieces, and you refuse to give them the pieces because you don't want them to put that puzzle together in a way that may not shine the best light on you. And so having a conversation with her, I told her that I told my kids that they know what the situation was. They do. As ridiculous as most people think it might be, they know where they were conceived and how they were conceived and why they were conceived. And for me, it's just because I didn't want them having those fucking questions. I didn't want them sitting back wondering, did my parents actually ever like each other? Or were they always contentious and angry with each other? And if they were, how the hell did I even get born? Was it a rape situation? Was they just angry fucking? You know what I mean? How the hell did this even happen? Right now, because of that conversation, I told my mother, it's like I never knew that, and it bothered me, so I made sure I didn't do it with my children. She chimes in that she loved my father. She did love my father. Now, in my 47 years, this is the first time I've ever heard this at all. It's only the second time I can even remember her saying anything positive about my father. Now, I want you guys to think about that. 47 years, 365 days out of the year, growing from a child, an infant, to a toddler, to a child, to a teen, to a young man, to a grown man with his own kids and his own grandchild. This is the first time I've heard her say something that she even loved my father at any point. Crazy, right? Now, I know my father loved my mother. And I know this because for the first time in life, I cooked my father a meal. All right. When I was freshly married, this was back in my 30s, and I had my wife and my own house and stuff like that. I invited my dad over for dinner, and I cooked him dinner. That was the first time that we had actually, that I can recall, sat at the table together and had a meal and just talked like family. Because my father wasn't invited to all the Thanksgivings and the Christmases and all that bullshit. He wasn't. They didn't even send him the cards, Different family members might have asked about him, but didn't know what the fuck was going on necessarily. So this night, it was me and my wife at the time, and I invited my dad over and offered to cook him dinner because I had moved back to Richmond. We were staying like blocks from each other. So I thought it was absolutely ridiculous that I wouldn't have him over more often. His grandkids are in his house. They're in their, high school and middle school years. He should be around more. He should be included and not excluded, like he was a non-factor genetic specimen donator. So I called him over and made him dinner, and him and my wife sat and we talked. And my father told me about the first time he saw my mother. He remembered everything she was wearing. He remembered why the hell she was in that neighborhood, because my pops is from the hood. If you know Richmond, you know where North Richmond is. My pops is from North. He's from North Richmond, and that's where he was staying, and that's where he met my mother. And my mother is up from the hills, so she's in the middle class area, and she was coming down to the hood with her girlfriend, who was her classmate, to just to hang out. And that's where she met my father. My father told me the story of everything she was wearing, how he saw her, what she looked like, what he was feeling at that time, all of this stuff. He knew all of it. He told me this when I was 30 something. I think it was like 37 we had this little sit down. I had never heard this story at that time in my life. I didn't know how my parents had met. I didn't know if they went to school together. I knew nothing. I knew that these people were together, they had sex, and I came from that. I knew nothing else. Ever. And listening to my pop's story, I got it. I can see where he was, because he was at the time, he was like 17. Right? I said he was in love with her. He fell in love with her from like that romantic ideal of love at first sight thing. He fell in love with her. And he gave me the rest of the story of how their relationship went on and whatnot. And all I could do is actually laugh. Because mind you, I've never heard any of this stuff before. It could all be bullshit. It could be. But here's the way I know it wasn't bullshit. I've lived with my mother and I know my mother. How she operates, how she acts, right? So when he's telling me shit about her being bossy and trying to get him clothes that he didn't want to wear and arguing with him about it until he did what she wanted. I'm like, yeah, been there. It was nothing that I had not, experienced myself. What's up, Nina G? Chimed in as you were saying she was supposed to be someone else. Yeah, I wonder if that's the Nina I'm thinking of. If that's the crazy pants, put a 1 in the chat, Nina G. But he loved her. I can tell. He talked about shopping with her and buying her a dog and stuff like that. And he talked about the tendencies my mother had to be chasing dudes that she didn't need to be bothered with because she didn't want to be told nothing. I only know my mother. Hey, what's up, Crazy Pants? Another friend of mine. I should probably give her a wrench. I can't give her a wrench on this. Thanks for coming through, Nina. You get to hear me actually doing the live stream. Okay, AB, you doing yours in 2 hours. I won't be on here 2 hours. Like I said, this is just a PMDM. It's just the psychology of me. So I'm just rambling some stuff out. And since everybody was throwing Sphere in their titles this week, I figured I'd throw Sphere in mine too, just to be funny. So I'm running a little RambleSphere right now. And it's not all about my mother and shit, but I'm just giving you guys context on why in a 5-hour conversation, hearing my mother say that she loved my father actually sticks with me the most. And we talked about some good shit, but that sticks with me the most. And it's because of hearing all of this stuff and understanding. I've heard one side of this story from my father, right? I've heard one side of it. It could be true, it could be false, but I look for the truth within whatever somebody's saying from what I know of the person. And what my pops was saying was about accurate on who my mother is and how she behaves, because I've seen it when I was a child. Growing up around her in the same house, I've seen her behavior. I know how she acts. He telling me this shit. Now, having that conversation last night with my mom and her saying that was kind of a shock to me. It was kind of a shock. I never heard her express any feelings like that. And this is how much of a shock it was. When the ball dropped and it's past midnight and everybody's texting and calling everybody to say Happy New Year, my children text me, my son and my daughter, like, Happy New Year, love you, Dad, all the rest of that stuff. And we're chatting in our little group chat. And I told them, because I had just got off the phone with my mother, I told her, I said, yeah, your grandmother told me that she loved Grandpa. They had never heard it before. They were shocked because they had never heard it. My son said it himself. My son is 27. He said she's never even talked about him. And I was like, exactly. That's the same way it was with me. She never talked about him at all. Which, me growing up, thought it was a fucking crime that I didn't know more about him, because that's part of me. I need to know that part of me. No, you're welcome, Nina. You good. Right? So, even my son was like, he didn't know anything about him. Even my children knew how big of a deal that was. Because she doesn't talk about him at all. Now, in retrospect, at this age of my life, I can tell you, what's up, Grinch? Appreciate you coming through. Oh, damn, I need to check YouTube, make sure you got a wrench. You should have one, because I got to get up with you, Grinch. I might be thinking about jumping into some trucking this year and getting out of California for a while. And I think I can find you on Discord. I think I can. Like the little engine that could. So having her say that was interesting, and having that conversation with her. What's up, Rocket King? Happy New Year to you too. Having that conversation with her to tell her what I had learned from my situation and what I implemented with my children was interesting. That she had to accept that. And my mother's been through a lot in the last couple of years. And I can see some positive changes in her from what she's been through, that she's looking at things differently. Like not too long ago, like a year or two ago, she had what I would consider a mental break. I don't want to say a psychotic break because she wasn't psychotic, but she had a mental break where she had to be checked into a facility and they had to keep her a while, and the rest of the family had to be taking care of her, making sure she wasn't in danger to herself or anybody else. It's not that bad. The only person she attacked was me. So it's a good thing my head is hard because I just got a lump and nothing else. But it was a serious, scary thing based on some fucked up medication and stuff, right? But what came out of that was her understanding that you need to clean up the shit in your life a bit with people. And one of the things that I saw come out of her when she went through this thing was all her guilt and all her shame and all that stuff that she usually represses and hides inside was let free because she didn't have full faculties of her mind. She couldn't control all of that shit. So she would go between sitting up there like she's a fucking vegetable and then crying and apologizing and being so sorry for everything that she's done and all this stuff. And sitting there watching her and taking care of her, like trading off between me and my brother, I heard some real shit. I heard the shit that I needed to, that I'd always suspected. I heard some real shit. But never had actually, okay, Grinch got a wrench. Never actually addressed with her. And she hit on every point. She knew everything. Everything that I suspected and hadn't said to her was coming out of her mouth. She knew it. And that proved that I was right. And it's the fucked up way of being right, because you're right about some shit that was really detrimental to you. That this person was doing this to fuck you up intentionally. Had a hand in it. So it was a rough time. Now, when she came out of that stuff and we sat down and had a conversation, and I told her, yeah, you said some stuff to me that was like legit. She didn't remember it. Or she said she doesn't remember it. I had to take her out of word. Okay, she don't remember. But I've seen changes in her since then of how me and her interact. So this conversation last night was one of those things where we're having this conversation about what I've learned from being a child in her house, in her home, and what I did not like. What's good, Double C? And how I made changes in my children's life to negate that shit. And I got to tell her something that to me was powerful. And it was it was just something that I had told my ex-wife before, and I've told girlfriend since. That being a Gen Xer, all that dysfunction and bullshit that we went through as kids, as Gen Xers, that my thinking when I had my children was that shit needed to die with me. All that pain, all that dysfunction, all that bullshit needed to die with me. That I would do what I could to heal myself and heal from that shit, but I would not pass it on to my children because I wanted that cycle broken. I wanted that dysfunction broken. And dysfunction I can speak of, like even to right now, is that my mother ain't talking to my grandmother right now. Her brother ain't talking to her. He cussed her out and ain't talking just for some simple shit. That's the dysfunction in my family. That's what they do. It's just what they do. That's just how they get down. They all fucking Geminis. They all can't never be wrong and don't want to own to it. And they will cuss each other out on a phone or a text message and not talk for damn near a year. That's their pattern. And if you don't want to go along with that pattern, then they'll all cuss you out and gang up on you. That's just how the shit goes. It's just how the shit goes. So I didn't want that pattern for me. and I didn't want that pattern for my children. So I changed it. So seeing these changes in this woman who I've known as my mother, but now, yeah, that's my mother, but it's just a woman that I'm having a conversation with. It's good. I've seen some growth and I'm seeing some improvement in her and some change in her later in her life. And that's good. I hope it continues. But being able to tell her certain things, like, yeah, I went through some shit. I survived through a lot of bullshit that I had to witness and I had to experience firsthand that happened to me directly. I took all of that and I'm throwing it away because I know it was bad and I will not pass it on. I will take it to my grave. And it wasn't about blaming her or anything like that. It was just letting her know. No, I know what I've been through. And I know it wasn't cool. And I know it will go no further. And in that conversation, she kind of backed up a minute. She was silent for a minute when she thought about that shit, because I know she holds on to a lot of guilt about what may or may not have happened to me. But she won't own to it. She won't cop to it. You know, can't. So it was a little interesting conversation about all of that. Which, waking up today on 2021 is still a bit interesting. It's still hanging with me a little bit as I keep regurgitating it in my mind and going back through it. But that's, you know, that's the nature of being a thinking man, as Grinch would say. You actually have to take account of this shit. Actually think about it in some logical, rational way. And for me, it took 47 years, but I'm glad to hear that she actually loved my father. That they at some point were in love. Working or not is irrelevant to me because I'm a grown man. I have relationships that work. I have relationships that do not work. It's just what the fuck it is. I'm not holding nobody at the cross because their relationship didn't work and I didn't have the shit that I fucking want. It's just, it is what it is, dude. We all fucked up in our own ways. You deal with it the best way you can and try to mitigate it the best way you can so you can try to have something functioning. Problem is, most people don't want to deal with shit. They want to let their dysfunction determine everything and not work for it to actually be functioning properly in any kind of way, because then they don't want the accountability or the responsibility of saying, you know, I'm fucked up and I do some fucked up shit. I do. I don't have a problem saying that shit. As I told her, told Mom last night when she was talking about that she saw growth in me when I was talking about where I was when I got divorced and stuff like that, and how I talk about it now. She was like, yeah, I thought I had lost you. And I had to tell her, no, you damn near did lose me. You didn't understand that. You damn near did. Because nobody was checking on me like that. Like Dr. Tia-san talks about, where, you know, you get around the holidays and stuff like that and you checking on your homeboys who live by themselves and stuff like that to see how they doing. Nobody was checking on me like that. I was in my family home, my three-bedroom house. No wife, no kids, myself. And I told her it was dark. It was darker than you will ever know. And you almost lost me. You did. Just because I didn't know the way out or how to fix this problem. And nobody would help me. Everybody was treating me like I was radioactive or some shit. Just standing back and waiting to see if I sunk below the waves and drowned, or I came back swimming harder as fuck. But they weren't helping. They were just observing and spectating. And I told her this is why I handle things the way I do now, where I don't deal with anybody. Y'all ain't there for me. I'm there for me. And I always was, and I always will be, and I will always have to be. It taught me to realize that I use this line often, but like Jay-Z had put it, cut the grass, the snakes will show. I cut my grass. My grass was burnt down. There was hella snakes around me. And everybody slithered away because I had nothing to offer any of them at that moment. Like we talk about in this space all the time, that I was looked at for the utility and I could not be of a utility to them. So they were not interested in what I was going through at all. And so I picked myself up. And I can tell you, I can actually show you guys one of the things that helped me pick myself back up specifically. And it was right after, I believe it was a New Year's too, New Year's of 2014. This kind of thing right here. This is a sunset picture from Goat Rock up in Northern California that I went on my birthday of last year. But the sunrise is what kept me here, made me understand some shit. And that's why you'll see, if you ever looked at my Instagram page or pictures I put up on my page, I use a lot of sunrises. I use a lot of sunrises now. I didn't used to do that. I like sunrises and sunsets, but I didn't use a lot of them. Reason being is that sun always comes up and you have to move on. And that is what got me through. And what's up, Herb? Happy New Year to you too. In my darkest time, where I felt the most miserable, I stood out on some grass, iced over and everything, and watched the sunrise in my city, feeling miserable. Feeling absolutely fucking miserable. Standing out in an open baseball field with frosted over grass, just watching the hills and watched the sunrise. And when that sun rose and I saw that light and I felt it on me, I saw what it was doing to the grass and how it was melting the ice on the grass and whatnot. I actually found peace. I actually found strength. I found the strength to understand that although the night is dark, the sun will rise tomorrow, and you will have to go out there and face the world again tomorrow. How you face it is a choice. You can face it with the discarded remains of yesterday, or you can face it with the optimism that says whatever had me down yesterday is going to get fucked up today. And that's exactly what I did. I let that sun rise in, and understanding that in the grand scheme of things, if you want to say it's God, the big old, whatever religion you want to believe in, I felt that motherfucker touch my heart and warm that ice was around it and melted and let me move on. I fucking cried. I'm serious. I have a picture of that shit. I fucking cried that day. Out there, middle of a fucking baseball field, watching the ice melt off the grass. I held my head up and just feel that sun rays on my face, let it wash over me, and knew that everything would be what it's supposed to be. I found my pace, my tempo, and I moved at that. I wrote a poem about that shit, and I got a call from my son. He was in the neighborhood, didn't even know he was going to be down there. He was in the neighborhood and wondering if I was at home, and he just felt to come by and see me. And I saw that was a sign. Because before then, I was alone. And I left that field feeling different than when I walked out onto it. And went back and had breakfast with my son and appreciated the fact that had I not survived that night, I wouldn't be here this morning to enjoy the company of my son, my child. That I would have missed all of this. And like I told my mother last night when we were having that phone call, I asked her a question. I said, what goes through When a man decides to jump off a bridge, what goes through his mind as soon as his feet leave the railing? That he wants to live. But now it's not in his hands anymore. Me personally, I'm not about giving up control of what I want to do with my life to any fucking body. Period. It's just what it is. I want to be at the helm of this ship. I want to be directing the ship in the direction I want to go. And I don't like people fucking with me or trying to impede that progress in any way. That's what gets me, gets my ire up. So it was dark at some point. I found the light. And since that day, this is why I always post pictures or have pictures of sunsets or sunrises. What up, Dusty? Your area? Because you need both. You can't have all good times and have no bad times. You can't have bad times and have no good times. Because one informs the other. It gives you your understanding of the other. You can't know how good life can be until you've seen how bad it can be. You can't appreciate how good life is until you've had some fucking bad times. And all of this shit passes. All of it does. All of it passes. The further away from it you get, the more days go by since the shit happened, the more you can't even see that shit no more. Can you see a billboard in your rear view mirror after you've gone 10 miles down the road? No. You can't see it after like 3 miles. You ain't even thinking about that motherfucker no more. That's how most of these events in your life are. They're coming, they're going. You moving to it, you moving through it, you moving past it. That's what you should be doing. And you should have the presence of mind to understand that's what you should be doing. You should be moving through this shit. So it may have taken my mother, 47 years of my life to actually move to the point where she can say she loved my father. To me. Cool. It took a while, but I'm happy that it actually happened. I'm not that damn concerned. I just think it's ironic how long it took to hear that from her. It would have been useful when I was getting into all that trouble in school and stuff like that, not knowing who fucking cared about me and who didn't. Why I have to go to these father-son picnics and shit like that, and I ain't got no daddy there with me. And I got to use my cousin's dad, which ain't fun. Which kids are fucking kids. They know when shit is off. It's like, damn, where the fuck your daddy at? You don't know who he is. Some dumb shit like that. Yeah, I got into a bunch of shit. So it would have been useful to know that stuff outside of understanding that part of who I am is all this assholes and motherfuckers and all the rest of that shit that I'm supposed to grow up with, looking like this motherfucker and deal with this woman who don't like him. It's a tough pill. So it would have been useful back then, but I survived that shit. So it's whatever now. Luckily for me, I found my own inner voice and inner strength to own who the fuck I was and understand that even if I don't know who this person was, I know who the fuck I am. And since it starts with me, everything will start with me. I will be whoever the fuck I want to be based on that. You can't tell me any other way because you didn't give me anything else to go on. I chose. And I chose to be me. Like it or not. So that ended up being an interesting conversation, to say the least. I will say we talked about some relationship stuff, dealing with people and women and kids and stuff like that, which was also interesting. But not as much as that, because I've been thinking about, my kids and legacy and all that shit for the last few weeks, just because of my son, and granddaughter and stuff. And when I talk to people and talk to friends, they always ask me, how's the grandbaby doing? How's the grandbaby doing? And I'm a young grandfather, which makes sense since I was a young father. But that actually means something. That's actually pretty significant. And one of the things me and my mother talked about is how people will talk to you like you can't relate to shit when they don't have any of the experiences that you have. And I had to go through it with her about talking to some other people about, I won't listen to somebody younger than me tell me about being married who's never been married. I won't listen to somebody younger than me tell me about raising children when their child is only 3 and mine are grown. And I'm working on a grandchild now. There's certain things some people can't tell you about shit that don't have that experience. They don't. I won't listen to single people tell me about being married. Well, I would. Reason being is that you have no experience in this area. I know from being in it that the number one problem, like I was telling my mother, number one problem with people being married is they fucking single friend who want to keep trying to tell the married people how they should be fucking married and injecting their unproven ideas into their situation till they find one of the partners who will listen to them, and that inevitably ends up fucking up their marriage. Not just because they insert these dumbass ideas, but because you found a weak link. They're not working with each other. I finally got to the point where, and this was after my divorce, obviously, that I understood that I probably would not get married again. Not a state-sanctioned marriage, so to speak. I probably wouldn't do that part again. But I would have a long relationship with somebody. I would. That's what I look for. I look for people being functional. And I'm not saying in 100% sense, but at least like 80, 90% functional. But that's what I look for. What's up, Measly Me? It's just a ramble, so get in the stream and paddle and see where it goes. That a lot of this relationship stuff now is really dwindled down after that I don't put it this way. All the veneer, all the fakeness has been ripped off of it. All the fakeness is ripped off of it. I know how fake some shit can be. I know how real some shit can be. And I don't get wrapped up into all that shit about, if they love me or if they don't love me, you got look, I'm really not into all that. I like what I like. You can grow towards love just like you in a union, you grow to being a journeyman. If you thinking you get that shit off the top because you showed up, that's a problem. Everything you're working for, everything you're earning. If you're not earning it, you're not doing shit. So, like my mother, knowing her situation and how she behaves, I told her that being married is for courageous people or the foolhardy. It's not for people who are cowards. And she admitted that she was a coward. And I said, I know. Because the one thing that she wants more than anything is control. But the one reason she wants control is because she doesn't trust. She can't trust anybody. She can't. And that's part and parcel of her environment and how she was raised and what she saw going on with the married people around her. And she got it into her head that that was something she never wanted to fucking be. And she has held to that for 60-something goddamn years. So I gave her props for being locked on a goal and sticking to it. She made a commitment to something and she held to that shit. She is still holding to it. Like, at least I know you're determined. You gave your word and you stuck to it. So it's funny in a way that I don't look at relationships like that. I would like a long relationship, but I don't see the point in actually being state sanctioned married again outside of this helps the whole legal process of if I end up in a hospital and not able to communicate, I trust this person to be able to make some decisions on my behalf. And as I'm getting older, I'm getting close to 50 now, and I'm having more aches and pains in places I never had aches and pains. And I'm noticing a little bit of decline in my once, vaulted strength like I was Hercules when I was younger. I realized at some point that you'll need somebody for that. You will. Now, you can leave it to be, you drop dead of a fucking heart attack in a house somewhere, and nobody knows till they come try to look for your ass. But I think COVID has showed everybody that that's probably not the way you want to go. It's probably not the way you want to be found. And that it was helpful, at the very least, helpful to have somebody there who would actually give a fuck and be looking for you. At the very least. Even if it's just a fucking roommate. Somebody would be looking for you to keep some appearances and be able to get you some kind of care before or after. But outside of that part, with the state sanction of people being able to make those decisions, doesn't really have a point anymore. Doesn't. I had a debate with a woman at my job about this whole thing about being married and what it means and all the rest of that shit. And I told her it wasn't necessary anymore. It's not how people operate now. It's not necessary. Everybody can do everything. Everybody can make their own money. Nobody wants to submit or commit. Nobody really wants to work with each other outside of the 2 minutes it takes to get one piece inside the other one. Otherwise, they don't want to do shit with each other. That's the way society is pushing everybody. So, marriage is not serving a point. Kids ain't serving a point if you're not actually trying to raise them together. They're not. Kids nowadays have become fucking status symbols like a Porsche used to be back in the 80s. They're accessories. It's a kid in a Coach bag or a clutch. Yeah, Nina, someone to share the king size bed with for a decade or so. Yeah. Because my belief, especially in relationships, I've actually told people this before and they think I'm being so cynical and wrong about it, and I know they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. But I said that everybody leaves. No one on this planet is permanent. No relationship on this planet is permanent. Your life is not permanent. So your relationships are not going to be permanent. And there's only two ways you either get in or get out of them. That's by choice or by death. That's the only two ways you get in or out of relationships. What's up, Akoteki? So that's my phrase, by death or by choice. And I really became to live that after my divorce because that was a choice. It was not death. It was a choice. And most people aren't comfortable hearing that shit. That you can go and have your relationship and have it for 10 years, and I just feel like I didn't get anything. I just wasted my time. I'm sorry, did you not think you were going to live 10 years? Did you have somewhere else to be? Do you in turn want to spend 10 years actually enjoying your life with somebody who wants to share that time with you? Or would you rather spend 10 years, having to call in the shows like Kevin Samuels and try to figure out why you can't cut meat on your neck to get a man to come play with you? Why is it a glass of wine, a cold bed, and a hungry cat or dog in the house, your child, and the only thing you got to look forward to when you come home at night? Because I can tell you, I'm in California, so I know a lot of women. I wouldn't say a lot, like it's a whole handful of them, but I know a handful of women who make really good money and lonely as fuck. And what I've never heard them talk about is how they take those $100 bills out the bank, roll them up like a dildo, and fuck themselves with it, or feel comfortable with it in the bed with it. That ain't doing it. That's not doing it. What makes life worth living is your connection to other people, the relationships you have with other people that are of value. Like Nina here in the chat, me and Nina is cool as fuck. I know Nina personally in life. She knows my name, knows what I look like. And we have really good spiritual conversations. And whereas in our situation, most people would have said, why do you still talk to him? Me and Nina still talk and don't have nothing with each other. We can talk about anything. It don't matter. I can flirt with her. I cannot flirt with her. But we have an actual, you could say it's a kindred spiritship, but that's pretty much what it is. Both artistic, both like music, both get into these ideas of what life is, and both try to figure out, relationships in this dysfunctional shit. Right? I appreciate that relationship. I'm not seeing every negative thing some other woman has done to me in life just wrapped up in her ass. Because I don't bring shit like that to people. I don't bring this laundry list of pain and suffering and daggers and shit like that, this bag, and drop it in front of every woman I fucking deal with. It's not it. I'm trying to leave that shit. I'm not trying to lug it around. But had her and I got into a relationship, I know it will last as long as it's going to last. Right? It's going to last as long as it's going to last. It's going to last as long as you keep putting effort into it to make it last. It's just like working your fucking job. You will keep working at that job as long as you keep showing up and doing what's expected of you in that fucking job. The day you decide you don't feel like doing this shit no more, you tired of shuffling these papers, you don't want to be digging these holes, you don't want to drive this vehicle, that'll be the day you fucking quit. And the day you won't be at that job anymore. It's that goddamn simple. I think people overcomplicate the most simplest things in life because they don't know what to do with all of the benefits they actually fucking have. So they look for ways to fuck it up or complain about it. Got a lot of good things going on. A lot of things possible for you. But people who are devoid spiritually always look to the outside to complain about what's wrong on the inside. Always. The same conversation with my mother, she told me something that my grandmother had said. And I don't say this to besmirch my nana, okay? I love the fuck out of my nana, but don't y'all say nothing negative about her. Right? But she has her experiences just like my mother has her experiences, and I have my experiences, and y'all have your own experiences with people. And from what my mother was telling me, and I can take it with a 50-pound grain of salt, from what she's telling me about a conversation that I didn't ask about and didn't even fucking care about, was that my grandmother had said that she don't know any black folks who do work worth a shit. I'm like, what? Now, the thing about this, that for context, my grandmother stays in East Oakland. She stays in East O. Stayed in East O for better part of 30 goddamn years, right? So she sees some people not doing so well. My grandmother is obviously black, and has worked in male professions for years, retired, right? Work nights, all that shit. So for her to say that black folks don't do a good job of doing any work or do any quality work means that the people that she has dealt with have not done quality work. And me and my mother had a conversation about that because I'm talking to my mother initially about this whole house being built walkthrough that she's seen and the stuff that she saw and the pictures that she's showing me of what she saw in the house. And I'm sitting there looking at the pictures like these motherfuckers are being lazy. Doing some lazy ass fucking work. This is lazy Russian work because this is the stuff I do. So I'm seeing the pictures and like, what the fuck, right? So apparently, conversation with my grandmother come up that she says black folks don't do anything wrong. And my mother took offense to that because she said, well, Mama, you black. Did you do your job? Well, my mother took offense because she's like, she did her job really well. My mother is now retired too. I'm listening to her say, yeah, that's now fucked up because I know I put quality into the work I do. You may not see it up on, my YouTube channel. But I do the best I can, with what I have and try to put out quality material, right? So hearing that comment, it spun into thinking that people only know things based on their experience. And sometimes you will have to show them something different. How they take what that difference is based on that. They only see what they have inside. And if I want to say anything, I'd say my nana, she has her own experiences, but she was projecting a lot. She just lost her husband this year. Like I've told you guys, a shout out, R.I.P. to Hux. She just lost him this year, and they had been married for about 30 goddamn years. As long as I've been alive and remember who she was with, she's been with him. She lost him, so she's in a house by herself now. And there's not many people there willing to deal with her shit because she's been a hellraiser for a while. Loving woman, nice woman, but motherfuckers deal with her, with oven mitts. Because you can't get burned. And if you do, you can't get socked up because she will fight a man. Now, she's too old for that shit now, but that fire's still in her like that. Okay? So, being what she's dealt with in her life and what she's seen and the age that she is, I know why she says certain things like that. Because that's been her experience. That's all she's talking from. Her experience and her inner problems that she has and won't deal with, which is what she passed on to my mother. Because my mother don't outwardly deal with her shit either. You get better over every generation, but it takes some time. I would say I'm probably the first one that made such a drastic shift so quickly. Because I spent a lot of time being introspective and trying to fix myself, as opposed to running out in the world and trying to tell everybody else that everything is wrong with them and nothing is wrong with me. I am the last thing furthest from fucking perfect, but I work on that shit every day. So it was interesting. I think I lost my train of thought on that one. But so my friend Nina in the chat has suggested something from her friend about what to do for this New Year's Day and what to do on this day. And I'm about an hour into this shit, so I might end it soon so I can do something else, play some games, and ruminate a little bit more without having to ruminate on here with y'all. But from what she was telling me, another friend passed on to her was to get out a piece of paper and a pen and write down what you want for this year, what you want to get done, accomplished, or to happen for this year. Write it down on a piece of paper. It doesn't matter how long it is, or you can just bullet point the shit. You don't have to write the great American novel. It's not what this is. It's just some bullet points of some shit you want to accomplish this year. Once you actually have that list, close it up, put it in the envelope, and put it away somewhere. Put it on a bookshelf, whatever, glove compartment, safe deposit box, whatever you want to do, and don't open that motherfucker until New Year's Day of 2022 on this day. Open that envelope up and see how many of those things you actually did in that year. I think that's a good idea because I got away from actually doing resolutions, but as my mother talked about last night, one of the things that she wants to do in this new year is to get back to using all of her English, which is how she worked, which was corporate for 30 plus years. She knows how to code switch a lot, and I code switch a lot. And the interesting part of the conversation we had about that is because we both did the public school, private school switch back and forth going through our younger years. She did it, and then she did it with me as I went to private school, and then went to public school, and then went to private school, then went to public school. So I'm not a dumb dude. I'm not in any way uneducated, unarticulate guy. But because of professions that her and I have gotten into and the things that we've gotten into, we've learned how to dumb down our language, use smaller words as opposed to big words to actually talk to the people that we're trying to reach. You can see it right here on YouTube. When I go back and listen to like my shop talks from Sunday, sometimes I cringe because I'm cussing so freaking much. But I know that me cussing that much happened when I got into construction. I can remember the change when I got into construction. That's when I started doing it the most, because a lot of people that I'm working with are not that smart. They don't know those words. And that's not a slight against them. It's just what it is. It's not disparaging them. It's just what it is. They didn't know what the heck I was talking about when I used the words I used. I was using too many words that weren't appropriate for the situation. So the words got cut down. The grammar became worse. The English became worse. More profanity was used to explain the simple points. And then they got it. Because when you're dealing with large groups of people who may speak the language, may not speak the language, they don't understand all of that shit. They don't. You have to be able to code switch or dumb down your language a little bit. As I've gotten older, I've worked corporate. I know how to have and hold a civil conversation with the correct grammar and diction and not curse in the conversation. I know how to do that. You don't. I also learned from going to school is you speak to your audience. All right? Yeah, haha, fuck the fucking fuckers. Yeah. Funny, Nina. Well, yeah, you speak to it. So my mother's thing was she's done that too. She's done that as well. She's recognized that she's done that as well. And her push for this year was to go back and start using all of her language. Using all of her language, the language that she knows. Because she realized how much she was dumbing down a lot of what she was saying to other people. And I told her, I understand that we do that, but it's not a benefit to them when you do. Because you're not helping them elevate. You're helping them stay where they are. So, as my first professor when I went back to college told me, shout out to Paul Lowry, he told me that I needed to purge myself of the Anglo-Saxon English. And the Anglo-Saxon English that he was referring to was the profanity, because that's Anglo-Saxon speak. It is. That his suggestion was he had to purge himself from it, had to walk away from it. He used it at different times when necessary, but it's clearer to get a message across when you don't use it as much. If you have a message that you want to be heard, it's better if it doesn't offend so many sensitive ears on the way up, because then the message can be heard. You can still give the same harsh and biting criticism that you might give any other day of the week. You just use some other words to do it. That was one of the things I told Ford before. That you can disagree with anybody, even your father, which is who he was talking about. You can disagree with your father and tell your father he's wrong without telling him he's fucking wrong. There's a way you can do it. You have to use English, because you can tell him the same thing. It means the same thing. You just said it in a different way. Still carries the same weight. So that was her push. Her push was to stop code switching so much and to actually use all of her grammar. And since she has the time to do it, good. She's retired. She wants to write her book. Write that book. Get it done. I wouldn't mind having a book on my shelf that my mother wrote. I'd be curious to see what it was about, because the writing skill that I have, I got from my mother. She's artistic like that. I've seen her poems that she wrote when she was younger and stuff. My mother was a fucking amazing student. Young childhood kept her from doing a lot of that stuff. Just like, or not young childhood, but young parenthood kept her from doing a lot of that stuff. Which is like me with young parenthood kept me from traveling and getting out of this state. I stayed to raise my child. Young parenthood got my son to come back from Italy and not go back to Italy. Young parents make sacrifices. Usually the sacrifice is mobility. You don't move the way you want it to, and you don't pursue some of the things you may have wanted to pursue. If you are lucky enough to get to the end of all that stuff, maybe you have time to go back and do it. So I encouraged her to write. I want to read her book. So I know there's a shitload of stuff I don't know about her, and she ain't never told. And I would hate to find out a bunch of stuff after she has passed, like most of us do. Where you find out, damn, I didn't know so-and-so did all of that and went all these places and stuff like that. They must have made that up. No. You talk to people, you find out a lot of shit. And a lot of stuff they just don't tell. Because they figure nobody cares because nobody asked. So, I think that's about it. I think I ran this one into the ground for about an hour and 13, 14 minutes. Like I said, it was just a ramble about not really anything. Just some thoughts I was having. 2020 went out with sort of a bang for me. And this next month will be a lot of great changes for me personally. I will be moving. The comic shop will be possibly closing for a little while. And I will be finishing up this job that I'm on. Malika, I am drinking some Canada Dry ginger ale. It's just out of a glass bottle that I got because I buy the little mix and I pour the mix in the water, mix it up and throw it in the refrigerator, and I like drinking out of glass. So I have this glass bottle that I've mixed the Canada Dry up in, and I got it out the refrigerator, and it's cold. So no alcohol. I didn't even have any alcohol last night. The only thing I had last night was 2 glasses of hot tea with lemon. That's it, because my throat is a little scratchy after some bullshit. But this month is going to be a lot of changes. A lot of changes for me. And whereas in the past I might have been afraid of them, I'm not actually afraid of them right now. I'm not actually worried about it. I'm actually embracing it. I'm happy for it. Because I see that change as being preparation for something better that is coming my way. I need to be moved into the right position so I can get the next thing that's coming my way. And not the next, roll of shit that's coming down the pipe at me. It's not that. It's something better is coming from me. As I was telling my mother last night, I know how I am, and I'm stubborn in some ways. Some things have to actually be taken from me for me to move on them, in a sense, because I can be stubborn to the point of inaction sometimes. But I know the changes are coming. I feel it in the air, and I know I should be making them, but I'm not making them. And then something will happen to make me make that choice. The environment will shift, the world will tilt, and I will have to do it. So the world is tilted. And it's saying, now it's time. So now is the time to make those changes, and what better time to make them than the beginning of a new year, at a time when Nina would back me up on this, since this Saturn conjunction that happened in November, it's going to be a fucking interesting 2 years for me, as astrologically speaking. So I will have to endure as best I can, but I do need to be moved into some different positions. It just seems all too interesting that a lot of this stuff is happening at the same time, which is, I don't know, standard for my life most of the time. If something negative or fucked up is going to happen, they all happen at the same time, back to back. Just funny as fuck. Look, it is what it is. There's not much you can do about it. You smell bullshit again? Thanks. Yeah, I do smell bullshit again, I know it's coming. Because my daughter, bless her heart, she gave me the horoscope heads up on what the convergence was going to mean and what the next year in my chart was showing me. And I was like, what the fuck, dude? I just came out of some bullshit like that. I got to do it again? Oh, well. So I'm treating it like a soldier that's been on 2 deployments and get back and find out we need you to go back out. It's like, fuck. Where's my gear? Let me get something to eat and get these magazines reloaded, and I'm going back out there. Fuck it. That's what it seems like. It was like, okay, you've done this before. Let's go and get this shit done, man. If that's what it's going to be. So, my New Year's message for you guys is 2020 was, I don't even want to say it was a motherfucker. 2020 was the Reaper, man. For real. 2020 was the Reaper. The Reaper came in and took a lot of shit away from a lot of damn people and made you actually start respecting life a little bit more, or at least the life that you fucking have. And if I can learn anything and remember anything from 2020 the most, I will remember that the whole world stopped for about 3 months. The whole world stopped. and had to do some introspective work on themselves. And the whole world got to understand what it was like to be me for a day. You're right, Malika. Yeah, like Airband and Black Hawk Down. Yep. I'm going right back out. Sleep with my weapon on. That the rest of the world had time to stop and do some introspective work on itself. And a lot of people find that they were lacking in a lot of areas. And you saw a lot of relationships get twisted and broken apart because people could not deal with themselves or each other. Not really. That's the only reason why they would break apart in a situation like this. They're stressed. They don't know how to deal. They don't know how to properly function or actually relate to each other. Whenever I heard somebody talking about these kids are at home and these mothers are going crazy and stuff like that, that told me that that woman didn't deserve them damn kids and she didn't like them. Her taking care of her child was contingent upon the fact that she can get rid of them at any moment and put them off on somebody else to take care of. That means she didn't need children because she didn't want them. A lot of people twisted off and lost their mind because they was already twisted off. They had already lost their mind. They just didn't have anybody else to bounce that shit off of anymore. A lot of women got really upset and couldn't deal with people anymore because they weren't having a lot of attention loaded on them anymore. Nobody would come to see them. And they couldn't pay anybody to call them. Because they didn't develop their non-sexual attention as much as they valued their sexual attention. So 2020 was a reaper. It was. It took a lot of things, but it put a lot of things into perspective as well, which is a benefit, which should be of a benefit to most anybody. But 2021, we'll see. We'll see what it do, because we'll see what it do. At the very least. So I'm gonna get out of here right now. Thank you all for coming through and listening to this PMDM, which is the RambleSphere. I got to ramble and get some stuff out of my head. And now I am going to get off of this stream and turn on my Ghost of Tsushima, and I might stream it live. But that's what I'm going to be doing. So if y'all want to watch that shit, it's coming up next. If you want to throw some shit in the chat and talk, we can talk. I got a day off. It's rare, but I have a day off on a Friday, and I'm going to enjoy it. So I'm going to lay my sore ass down. My leg is feeling better, but now my shoulder is hurting again. So I'm going to lay my ass back down, take some of this pain medication, and slice some motherfuckers up on Ghost of Tsushima. So thank you guys for coming through. Happy New Year, and I will see you in these YouTube streets. There's outro music, so don't leave right the fuck away.
This is the remix.
Okay.
Hey, bitch, try this. Guaranteed turn square
to a buy, bitch. You ain't down, bye, bitch. I ain't got time for playing. I'm just saying, we out here trying to function. 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 I ain't got time for playing. I'm just saying, man, we out here trying to function. 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 I ain't got time for playing. I'm just saying, man, we out here trying to function.
I slid into the function, the throat, Looking hella dipped, saucy, lit like a strobe light, hella diamonds on my wrist. You can call me your highness, cause I'm hella high in this. Play with her mind like a shrink, like I'm a psychiatrist. No dryness, I make a chick have a climate. Even nice and wet, she's telling me that I'm the best. If you don't want her, I'll take her off your hands and do you a favor. You might not regret it now, but you gon' regret it later. I'm about my paper stapler right on the side of my hip. In case a hater want it, in case he decide to trip. Platinum planning, shipping and handling CDs and digital sales. Used to push you up from the scale, but now it's legitimate script. You ain't understanding that it's game involved. I'm from the hills. Vallejo, California, the H-I-double-A.
Hey, bitch, try this. Guaranteed turn a square to a 5, bitch. You ain't down? Bye, bitch. I ain't got time for playing. I'm just saying, man, we out here trying to function. 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 I ain't got time for playing. I'm just saying, man, we out here trying to function. 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 We out here trying to function.
With the game up, you compare me to niggas, I'm the last of my kind. Live forever through these bars, everlasting my grind. If it ain't about money, then you're wasting my time. Mr. Molly with the liquor, now get out of your mind. Gotta do this one for the town business. I don't even fuck with these clowns and clown niggas. In the city where the dealers go broke, they turn killers. All the bad bitches got all the hoes, they like niggas. City what we gon' do broke, we like figures. Get that bag, then we going to work like Jay Billis. We out here trying to function, trying to maintain. They don't judge me, so the judge the same thing. Guess who's up in the club with the phone nickel? Man, I stay on point like God sickles. If I die tonight, bring me back at the Coachella. Sick and tired of killing these hoes, I'm that nigga, huh?
Hey, bitch, try this. Guaranteed turn a square to a 5, bitch. You ain't down? Bye, bitch. I ain't got time for playing. I'm just saying, man, we out here trying to function. 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 I ain't got time for playing. I'm just saying, man, we out here trying to function. 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 I ain't got time for playing. I'm just saying, man, we out here trying to function.
Got bad bitches, they ratchet. Bet the ding make them sing like an ad-lib. And all this money, watch me flip it like a backflip. I'ma go to work on the pussy, no practice. All my real niggas in the photo. Bottles in the air, we don't care about no hoe, no hoe. Yeah, shout out my nigga D-Lo. Girl, I know you want to, but I need about 3-4. Yeah, pretty girls in the crib. I know they all models, that's just how a nigga live. I'm like, whoa, when she do the splits and when she throw it back, nigga don't act like bitch. My niggas in the club with the foley, we just showed up with the foley. We like, what's happening in water? In the function, ain't no competition, killing the opponent. And I be killing the pussy, but this is just for the moment. Yikes.
Hey, bitch, try this. Guaranteed turn a square to a 5, bitch. You ain't down? Bye, bitch. I ain't got time for playing. I'm just saying, man, we out here trying to function. 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 I ain't got time for playing. I'm just saying, man, we out here trying to function. 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 We out here trying to function.
What's happening, Chris?
Rockin' and rollin' till 5 in the morning. She poppin' the pill, then she bustin' it open. Like, bitch, try this. I'm a high risk, a bankroll, 4, 5, 6. Tippin' the yak with a clip in the neck. For my Oakland niggas that be pimpin' the rap. I'm a New York nigga with a Bailey. Kept it in the hood, fuck the mainstream. Wrist rocky, I'm talking A-Train. Me and 40 run up on you like the A-Train. Man, we out here trying to function. Fuck all the fuck shit. Rip it off the rap. Fuck what it cost you. Montana.
Hey, bitch, try this. Guaranteed turn a square to a 5, bitch. You ain't down? Bye, bitch. I ain't got time for playing. I'm just saying, man, we out here trying to function. 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 I ain't got time for playing. I'm just saying, man, we out here trying to function. 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 I ain't got time for playing.
Real Cafe, holla at him, Kim.
Real nigga from Bondi, y'all 4 through 10 hoes to your soiree. Whole team in this hole looking saucy. Bitches off the Marley, my niggas on the Marley. Hold up, we out here try to function, bitch. All this jewelry a nigga got from hustling, bitch. Got them bank things coming through custom bids. See the money on the table, no touching me. What else? Cafe, I'm the pimp with a deck, yeah. Young G's write about me in they essay. Kill Def Jam, in my cool J's. Have my paper, they mopping up your Kool-Aid. I like yo hoes, them live hoes. Beat it up, make them my hoes. Bossed up on the east side. Dubs up how them G's ride, shake down.
Hey, bitch, try this. Guaranteed turn a square to a buy, bitch. You ain't down? Bye, bitch. I ain't got time for playing. I'm just saying, man, we out here trying to function. 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 I ain't got time for playing. I'm just saying, man, we out here trying to function. 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 I ain't got time for playing. I'm just saying, man, we out here trying to function. It's the remix.